All right, everybody, we're going to make sure this is on the right settings here before I put this link out on Twitter. Make sure that I'm on the right channel here. This actually might have been the California page I started up, but we'll see here in a moment. Either way, looking at the infrared satellite imagery here, that I do a live stream. Has been a while since I've done one, so I thought I'd better get on here and do it. We have some interesting weather coming up here as well. I got some monsoon moisture. It's going to ride up the west coast. So if this is either California or Washington or Oregon, you know, it's going to be some lightning activity here. And sometimes these models don't pick up just how much of this activity is going to move out over some of the lower terrain as well. So that should be interesting to watch. Let me update this one more time to make sure we are on the right page here. Is this not going to work? No, I must be on the California channel. Let me double check here. And we are on the California channel. So yeah, interesting to watch. Let's see, we have 26 watching now. So yeah, yeah, we'll go ahead and dive into some stuff here. As you guys can see, we're letting the infrared satellite imagery loop. Looks like we have some people starting to enter the chat. Swirly storm. I'm not sure which swirly storm you're talking about right now, but we do have some monsoon moisture coming up across the Sierra Madre up into Arizona now. So yeah. Yeah, we'll go ahead and dive into some stuff here. As you guys can see, so if you guys are in, yeah, this is the California channel, yes. I thought I'd do this for a little bit, then I'll switch over to the Pacific Northwest one. Just wanted to come on and say hi to everyone. It's been a while since I've done a live stream. Got some monsoon moisture rounding the ridge that's going to be building. It's going to warm up the temperatures. We're also going to probably get thunderstorm activity here. And, you know, with the heat we've had through some portions of July and some of the, you know, the dryness around the region, although we're not in drought for much of the state, the conditions are still pretty dry here. So if we start to bring lightning strikes back over the area, you know, we can kick off some more fires. It doesn't take much, and you know, just one person actually started that park fire across areas just north of Chico, and you know, with the heat we've had, it doesn't take much. Sometimes all it takes is a spark. You know, the conditions are right, and that's why that fire did develop, human or not. You never know if somebody else would have caused a fire like that or not. So it's hard to really say. Are you still on the echo right now? Okay, let me fix that here. I think I know the problem. There we go. Okay, that should fix it now. Sorry about that echo there. Let me know if that fixed it. I will be quiet until I hear that the echo is solved. Is the double audio still there? Okay, good. Yeah, sorry about that. I forgot to mute the actual volume on the California channel when I'm watching your guys' chat come across here. So sorry about that. Apologize. Click it back. If you change the color on this, then you can kind of see that it shows up a little bit better. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this one also, and we're going to go to Go 16 because this will show, if we go into the regional sector here, I can go over to California, and we can actually scroll through the day to day as well. And I can kind of click here, product overlays, go to Goes Derived. You can click on the lightning flashes here, and if we scroll through today, you can see not much lightning. You know, it's across Arizona there a little bit, but relatively calm. This is going to be changing, however, as we're going to develop that ridge, and this monsoon moisture is going to make a reappearance here all the way across California. Some of this could even move out over some of the lower terrain as well. All resolved. Good to hear. Yeah, sorry about that again. Now that park fire continues to burn out there. At least it's not what it was doing a few days ago and just, you know, massive flames just racing across the terrain out there. But it's still pretty darn right nasty. If we check out the fire color here, you can kind of see it. And sometimes you can click on the mesoscale floaters. Looks like they do have one out for California. And no, they have moved that. So we'll just go to a localized sector here. I want to concentrate a little bit on the park fire. As you can see, look at that. What a burn scar. I mean, my goodness, that just burned so much area. You see the cumulus build up across Northern California, and you can see that fire activity there. You can see the marine layer moving around here, and the north flow off the coastal areas. That is pretty typical. And then you go towards the nighttime hours, and you can see the flames still ongoing there. So yeah, that is what's going on. And so I wanted to point out a couple things coming up. So this is the day. Actually, let's go to this. Let's go to actual fire weather outlook here, and this is day 1 today, and they also put this out where you can go to day 2, and you can see not much doing out there on day 2. But if we go to day 5, so that is what we were looking at here. This is day 5, and this is because of that monsoon moisture. It's going to be rounding that high pressure out here. So if we take a look, you can see the state of California is here. And there's that frontal system that came through the Pacific Northwest. But then you'll see this black line. You can kind of see it form the circular shape here. That is that high pressure system. Of course, the flow is clockwise around it. And actually, this is 700 millibars. Let me go ahead and just change this to 500 because it does represent the moisture and the upper level ridge a little bit better. So you can kind of see that very strong high pressure right there across the 4 corners, and that's what's going to allow that monsoon moisture to ride back up over the area, and those could be some fire starting lightning strikes associated with that as well. It's hard to say. That's the big question. I see a question about, will the moisture make it to the northern Bay area? Sometimes these do overperform, and yes, it can bring lightning strikes all the way up to some of the coastal regions, all the way up across Northern California. And if I put that into motion, you can see some of that moisture make it out towards the Bay Area. And this is like Friday morning here we're looking at. There's Friday later morning. We go into Friday afternoon, and then you can see that moisture starts to push up across Oregon. But if we back all the way up here, you can see not much in the way of relative humidity at 18,000 feet over the state of California right now. It is kind of kept back across some of the typical monsoon areas of Sierra Madre and Arizona. But again, as you see that ridge develop here, you know, it starts to pull some of that moisture back up across California as we go on the day Thursday afternoon shown here, and there's Friday afternoon shown there. Yeah, the smoke has not been good out there. Let me go ahead and change this to California. We're going to go and take a look at what's going to come for the next couple days as far as smoke is concerned. So if we take a look here, this is the 0Z run, goes out 48 hours. And yeah, if you're downwind of one of these fires, I have some sympathy for you because I know what that's like. It's never fun to just be doused in smoke fire. And this is vertically integrated. If we go to wildfire smoke here, this is surface based. So you can see it's not quite the extent, but it is pretty nasty across portions of the northern and northeastern California, and really nasty for some areas out there that are probably, you know, you don't want to see this fire grow any larger as well and start to creep off to the north and east and start to impact a little bit more civilization as well. But you can kind of see there's other fires, smoke drifting around out there as well, and not much wind to stir this up incoming here over the next couple of days anyway. Let's see, I'll answer some more questions here. Riverside, California, it's always a tough call on how far that moisture is going to get out. Let's see if the HRRR picks up on some of this activity here. This goes out again 48 hours. But as we go through, this is tomorrow, this is Wednesday afternoon, and you can kind of see that moisture creeping in Wednesday night. As we go through Thursday, it starts to move out across some of Southern California. The deepest moisture right now showing across some of the desert areas, Southern Sierra Nevada, maybe some of the eastern portions of the Transverse Range, and you know, Palm Springs out here as well. Yeah, we got off to a little rocky start here. I left the audio on the YouTube channel as I'm watching the chat come in. So if you guys just are joining on here, sorry about that again. And checking out the marine layer tonight as well. Actually, so there was a pretty good, is this updated as of now? Yeah, this was. Okay, so looks like that cluster of thunderstorms did die across some of southwest Arizona there, but had some pretty good lightning activity today as well. But really the only clouds are right along the immediate coastline otherwise. Thunderstorm in Solano County caused 74 cloud lightning strikes, even set a couple mountains on fire. That was last year. Yeah, I mean, this monsoon moisture, as these systems come to impact, you know, when that moisture comes over, it's coming over high terrain and whatnot, and it doesn't have a lot of moisture associated with it. And sometimes these storms don't have much precipitation to work with, and you just absolutely, you know, start fires. You're not dousing them with any precipitation. So Last thing we need across some portions of California is more fires. I mean, this burn scar is just impressive looking on that park fire. Yeah, that's, you know, the last La Nina, the one 20, what was it, January 2020 or December 2022 into January 2023, and then on into March. That really shook some of the confidence here in what we usually get for the state of California for La Nina. I mean, it was just it was just an intense series of storms that went on for many weeks, and very impressive. And it's not very typical for La Nina, but I would argue that it was actually a La Nina pattern. So what I mean by that is when you take a look, you know, the jet stream is typically variable and it drips down or drops down into the Pacific Northwest. And I think that that trough was just deeper than it typically normally is. And we had that jet stream that came down, and we were getting that associated with California, it seemed like over and over again. So it still seemed like somewhat of a La Nina pattern, just a bit further south than normal would be my argument. I haven't done any kind of research on that or read any scientific journals on that and trying to test my theory or anything, but this is kind of what the hunch that I had as that was going on. Yeah, that winter of 2023 was absolutely crazy. Let's see if there's any. So let's see here. Yeah, I just wanted to stop by for a few minutes and let you guys know that when things do get active again here, I will be doing live streams for the channel. So I just wanted to let you guys know that that is something we will be doing here on the California channel. And typically as you get further on in towards the later summer and the fall, early fall months, you'll get more of these systems that move up and in towards Southern California here later on in the season. We're not quite there just yet. As you guys if you've been watching the last couple of days, you've seen me showing you guys these systems that are progged to come out here across the Northeast Pacific and kind of stay out over the ocean and not come back into California. Of course, I'm always watching to see if that is going to change, but for the most part right now, we're not looking at any tropical systems impacting even Baja, much less Southern California. Yes, the dry thunderstorm activity is going to be apparent, it looks like, as we go on in through. This is day 5 right now. So this would be Saturday morning right now to Sunday, but this could even come a little bit earlier than that. As we go through the day Friday, there's going to be dry thunderstorm potential here with this activity. So they're probably going to be updating that as we go on into tomorrow. Yeah, we had a lot of low snow levels during that season as well. It was a very impressive California winter. We had some good systems last year also for some areas. So yeah, I think we can go ahead and I'm going to look at that here really quick. So I'll go to Oceanic and we'll go to Northeast. And we'll take a look here because this is the most recent European. It's kind of hot off the presses. The 18Z just ran a couple hours ago. And you can see the development of the next system here. But this is the monsoon moisture. And that's what's going to be giving us our lightning potential here over the next couple of days. And by the time we're on in towards Thursday morning, that's already encroaching into some of the desert areas and potentially even out towards Southern California and back up across maybe the Bay Area, even some of the valley areas, Northern California, and off into Oregon. As that monsoon moisture rounds this high, you can kind of see in the black line there, very strong high pressure system is going to be spinning across the Intermountain West. But this is that tropical system down here. I don't think it's been named just yet. Actually, it might have been. I can actually check on that. But this was the first tropical wave in advance of it. I'm backing up now, and then you can see the next system as it pushes off across the Pacific Ocean. But right now, it's not showing any kind of potential for moving back up into the Southwest USA. Yeah, Tropical Storm Hillary, that was a wild time last year. That was intense stuff. I mean, so close to getting a tropical storm into Southern California directly, just really missed by just, an eyelash, basically. I guess it technically didn't make landfall, but the impacts were quite broad and dramatic. And I kind of chalk it up to people being pretty well prepared across the state. I don't know that there were any deaths or fatalities from the storm, but it was a pretty good rainmaker here. And it kept a lot of the region above average for some time. Twin Sisters only get snow on both peaks every 35 years. That's intense. That's crazy. Yeah, there was a lot of low snow levels. There were some snow levels I remember in Northern California that were exceptionally low as well, like under 1,000 feet and whatnot. We can also do this too. The 18Z European model goes out 90 hours, and if you go to the 12 or the 0C, it goes out 240 on the deterministic anyway. And you can kind of see that system just a fish killer out here, but another one just kind of develops out there as well and just wants to kind of take the same path. You always got to watch these though. I mean, right now the ridge is kind of extended back across, and these ridges are actually the steering mechanisms of these storms. So if you pay attention to that, let me back this up. And John Didier, that's very generous of you. Thank you very much for that. Much appreciated. But these ridges here actually steer hurricanes. So you have a ridge here, you got the counterclockwise flow around this system here. And you can, if you watch this, you can kind of see how this is guided by this ridge out here. And you can see the ridge spinning and churning and ebbing and flowing here across the Intermountain West. And then again on the southern periphery of this ridge that extends out across Southern California and back out across Pacific Ocean. You can see that tropical system stay right on that southern fringe of that. And then these tend to move north more when you get the ridge to back up off to the east, and then you allow the system to potentially ride up the western periphery of these ridges back up into the southwest USA. So that's kind of what we watch for. And this is no different for like places like Hawaii. If you got a strong ridge north, it can steer these tropical storms harmlessly to the south of the Hawaiian Islands. But once that ridge moves off to the east, for example, again, you can then create a weakness in that upper level ridge, and then you start, or the ridging, and then you get that tropical system that can move up from the south. Yeah, maybe we can get some tropical storms that match all the presidents' names. Hillary, we can get tropical storm Trump, tropical storm Biden, Bush. Go back in time. Yeah, so that one, Divine Kai is mentioning a storm that had an atmospheric river that swirled like a hurricane, 70 plus mile per hour winds along the coast. That's what's known as a mid-latitude cyclone. So that's when you get the big temperature contrast between the colder air over the northern hemisphere and the North Pole, the polar areas, and some of that cold air will drop down across Pacific Ocean at times, and it meets up with subtropical air, of course, closer to the equator, and then you can get those really intense pressure gradients, and those are known as mid-latitude cyclones. And we've had a few doozies here over the last couple of years as well. Some really strong storms rolled through the Bay Area also. Always watching for those. But yeah, it's always an interesting time of year when you start getting these tropical systems down here. You're always kind of watching with your side eye on these guys as these start to, doesn't look like this is going to make north headway at this point, but it's something worth watching on a daily basis. So if we let's look at the GFS. Actually, the 0Z is running right now. Let's go to the 18Z. This was running it started running about 11 a.m. But so here we go. The ridge there's that monsoon moisture as we go into Friday morning and Friday afternoon, riding back up the western periphery or back up even to the Pacific Northwest. And there's that initial tropical storm. Actually might even be a hurricane by this point according to the GFS as we go through the weekend. And you see the ridge here, it's steering this thing off to the east or to the west kind of harmlessly. Next system out here develops kind of similar to the European but a little bit further south maybe with it. And then this system kind of no threat to the southwest USA right now. That would be kind of interesting for Hawaii, but you got to, once you start going too far out in the GFS, it just becomes kind of a joke. You can't really trust anything it says at that point. Fresno, 40 plus mile per hour winds. Yeah, sometimes whenever you don't get winds, whenever you get strong winds that you're not used to for any location, trees aren't used to it, trees will come down. So some places 40 miles per hour is a very strong wind. On some areas in the coast, 40 miles per hour, it's windy, but it's not going to cause damage. But if you bring that same 40 mile per hour wind to interior areas, you can knock down trees and damage power lines and put your power out. and smash into your house and all kinds of crazy stuff. So it's always relative. Everything is relative. The temperature in Alaska versus the temperature in Texas, the temperature in Washington versus California, everything is relative. I mean, like here in the Pacific Northwest, we have the tall evergreen trees, and if those get battered by 40-mile-per-hour winds and they come crashing on your home, it's a big deal. But if you are out in the desert and you're getting 40-mile-per-hour gusts, you can get some blowing dust and sand, which can be bad in and of themselves, but it's a little bit different. So it's all relative. And then you get like winds on the coastal areas here that are much more used to them, up and down California, Washington, Oregon. It's not as big deal if it were to happen inland in some of the sheltered areas. We got some evacuate. Wendy Garris talking about possible evacuation. Don Pedro, 2,600 acre fire. Yeah, it's never fun. Yeah, I wasn't doing the California channel back in 2020. Maybe I'll go back at some point and look at some of the meteorology behind that event and why those fires started. That's actually kind of a good idea for maybe a video. So yeah, that was the GFS. And again, if you guys are just joining, we have this monsoon moisture. You can see here we are on Thursday morning, starting to move into the desert areas. And this is Southwest USA. We're looking at about 18,000 feet, but it kind of shows you that monsoon moisture as it rounds this high pressure system. It's really going to warm us up, and really going to set up shop here near the Four Corners. Very strong ridge. I mean, look at that right there across the Colorado-Utah border. And this is going to steer that monsoon moisture back across the area. And we're going to have dry thunderstorm potential. Again, this is day 5. You can see a lot of California is included in this. And they're probably going to get an upgrade as well as we go, because this will be day 6 and day 7. But I think that as we go, I think by tomorrow, they're probably going to start to introduce some of these probabilities to portions of California as well, a little bit earlier. This is for Saturday morning, and they need these warnings up for Friday as well. Okay, what else did we want to cover here? Let's see. Oh, let's actually do this really quick as well. Let's go to the Southwest, of course. We'll go to regions, and we'll go to Southwest. Let's see what the most recent European said as far as lightning potential here. So scrolling on in through tonight, we're going to go on in through Wednesday. So there's Wednesday afternoon. You can see a little bit of that activity trying to creep into Southeast California right now. I don't know about this right here. That may be some noise. And we'll go on into Thursday morning here. And this is that monsoon moisture as we go through Thursday afternoon. That could be working its way back up towards Vegas, desert areas, some of the transverse range, maybe southern Sierra Nevada as we go through Thursday afternoon. And then I suspect as we go on through Friday, yes, indeed, we have that moisture starting to round that high and making its way back into California a bit more up into the Sierra Nevada. And let's go ahead and take a look. Oh, we don't go out far enough, but let's back up to the 12Z so we can look out a little bit further. So we'll check out Saturday and see what it says. As you can see, I mean, a little bit of a signal out over some of the lower elevations, Northern California as we go through Saturday. And then again, Sunday, maybe some of the higher terrain there as well. So, it's all good till it's not. You always say, oh, it's just a few lightning strikes until it kicks off just a massive fire. Because if a person pushing a car down a ravine can cause a fire, obviously the lightning strikes can cause the same kind of activity here. But yeah, obviously it was not a good situation out there. I still don't know the full details behind it. I just know that some guy pushed a car down a ravine and it may have been flaming before he did so. So actually might have been a little bit more effective of a fire starter versus just plain old lightning from Mother Nature. Yeah, there's no hurricane coming. There's no hurricane activity coming yet. So, and we can go ahead and check here. We can go down to take anything you hear about any kind of hurricane formation with a grain of salt right now. So they don't have it named yet. It doesn't look like, but you can see they have a nice discussion here. You can come down and read it if you want. But right now they're still at 90% chance of formation over the next 48 hours. The system is forecast to move westward to west-northwestward at 10 to 15, remaining offshore of the southern coast of Mexico. This right now it's not supposed to be affecting the Southwest USA. If a Cat 5 hurricane hit California, that would be bad because, like anything else, relatively speaking, you're not designed to withstand that kind of wind. I mean, if you guys remember what hit Acapulco last year, I believe it was a Cat 5, just absolutely devastating. I mean, it doesn't even really matter if you're prepared, if you're built for a hurricane or not. A Category 5 is going to tear basically everything down to the slab for the most part. I mean, it's not good. It would not be good. Yeah, the monsoony cumulonimbus clouds in Southern California. I remember when I lived down there for a while. I lived in Whittier, California for a while, and yeah, it would always be nice to watch those build up over the higher terrain off to the east. Well, that's actually a good question. I got a question there from Sunshine Moon. Is this the hurricane that will influence the monsoon? So I'll kind of show you how those are linked. We'll take a look here, and if we back up to where we are now, so you can kind of see this trough. There's this system that went through the Pacific Northwest here, and you can kind of see the weak ridge across the southwest USA. This is the black line. In fact, let me do this for a second here. We're going to do one thing at a time. We're going to go to 500 millibars, and you can kind of see the weak ridge down here across portions of Mexico, New Mexico, and Arizona. So if we scroll off in towards the future, you can see the ridge build here. And this ridge, these ridges will steer tropical storms, tropical development. And they will also allow monsoon moisture to come up on the western periphery of that, because the flow is usually, as you can see, these little wind barbs are coming out of the south and east here, back up across California. So this is what's going to be the steering mechanism for that monsoon moisture. It's also a player in the direction of these tropical systems. And you can see this would be where that one is developing, the one that said 90% chance. It's down here off of Baja. And so as we put this into motion, you see the ridge to the north of it. That helps steer this tropical system here. So what we look for is that you start to get a weakness and the ridge backs up to the east here. Maybe this moves off to the east, or you get a big weakness here. And then you can get these systems to move north. So you can kind of see how the ridge is a little bit weaker out here, and the system isn't moving as fast because there's no big steering ridge on the north side of that. And we can go off into the future, and you'll see this one eventually weakens, and then another one develops down here. And you can kind of see how it follows the ridge here. See how the ridge stays to the north side of it and helps steer this system. So the ridge, for one, pushes monsoon moisture that up across the region here, and it's that. So you can be indirectly related with the intertropical convergence zone down there. It has some of that moisture that's going to move up along the periphery of this ridge back up into the area. And it's that same moisture that helps develop the tropical system. So they're not directly related, but they're indirectly related, I would say. So yeah, if a tropical system mixes with the monsoon system, it would just be, you're not going to notice any increased impacts from that per se, because the monsoon moisture itself can create thunderstorms. The tropical system, of course, if you got a tropical system moving up with that, you're going to get more moisture, and there's going to be more rainfall associated with it. Well, by the time a lot of this monsoon moisture gets out over the Sierra Nevada and across some areas of Northern California or some of the coastal areas, a lot of times they're high-based, dry lightning strikes. You're not getting a lot of precipitation from them a lot of the time. So you're definitely going to get more precip if a tropical system is included. I see somebody mentioning swell. Let's see if there's anything going on. We can actually watch some of this wave activity here. Let's just do significant wave height and direction, and we'll just go ahead and play this out for a bit here. This is the 12Z European. As typical, you got the wind-driven northerly swell up and down, but you can see this tropical system, I don't know if it'll develop into a hurricane, but you can see we're not looking at, here we go, this next one coming up here, this one could have a little bit of an increase there. It goes out 240 hours, but you can see that. I'm not an expert with wave heights and whatnot, but I know a little bit, but there's definitely people who do know more about ocean wave action than I do. But this does look impressive as the secondary storm that starts to come out in towards the next week time period. You can see this is Wednesday morning, August 7th, this system moving out there. This is kind of impressive looking. That could actually bring some bigger swell. Looks like to Southern California, maybe some of the Central Coast also. Yeah, the only issue with that is that, so there's a question about every time I see reports of new wildfire, I see comments like each year is getting worse. I don't remember it being this bad. What is your take on that? Um, I've noticed the same thing also, that the fires, like I've been here in Seattle the last few years, since actually about the last 15 now, and it seems like the wildfire smoke has been more intrusive and things are getting worse. But I don't have a definitive way to quantify that because I'm not, calculating acreage burned versus offshore wind events. And sometimes just a favorably positioned fire and offshore wind events can make things seem much worse. But as an overall theme, obviously, some of the biggest fires have been recently in California history. So it seems like there is an element of, some climate change and things making things a little bit worse. And I don't like to talk about climate change too much because most of us are not experts in that field. And it's very important that we listen to the experts on that. I know more than 99% of the people on the planet about the topic, but I still don't talk about it that much because it is not my main topic of study, if that makes sense. You have to be really careful about making definitive statements about things that you are not studying in depth because you don't know what you don't know. So that's why I try to steer clear about talking about it a lot. I know what the experts say, and I try to prepare myself and educate myself based on what those experts say. So yeah, that was that tropical storm. This first one, the 90% formation, that is the one coming out there. And then you can see maybe even a stronger system there. Maybe it'll bring some nice waves to Southern California and no doubt for portions of Baja. So the N95 masks, those are supposed to help filter out smoke particles, if I'm not mistaken. So I see Flower Punk talking about that there, but that's kind of interesting. I kind of forgot about that as well. Yeah, and then there's always the aspect of there's a lot more humans in the area, and you've got people building back into more of the suburbs. That happens, I know, a lot of the Pacific Northwest, the California areas over the last few decades. There's a lot more people back in the backcountry there as well. And so fires start a little bit more readily just because when humans are around, people make mistakes sometimes, or cigarette butts or chains dragging on the ground, or maybe somebody's house catches fire or a cabin, whatnot. Yeah, that's the big question. Sunshine Moon talks about, do I know if La Nina is going to be like 2020 or 2022? And that's the big question because 2022 threw a monkey wrench into things because that La Nina really was huge impacts for California. La Habra, yeah, I remember La Habra when I lived out there. That's awesome. Just down the street. So let's do that. Let's do California. And I believe it is, we just want... Am I not able to zoom in here? I don't know what am I doing wrong here? Let's see. So that's the Nixon fire. I saw that was producing some pretty good smoke. Where is the San Pedro fire right now? I do not happen to know exactly where that is. There's the lake fire. We've got the Apache fire here. SQ. Somebody tell me exactly where that San Pedro fire is right now. I'm not quite sure. There it is, Pedro fire. So 2,600 acres burned. So I see people commenting about that. They must be producing some pretty good amounts of smoke, I am assuming. Thankfully, there's only been one fatality so far. The park fire, thankfully, hasn't killed anybody. Yeah, that Tropical Storm Hillary, that was a fun time last year. That was interesting stuff. The channel was going absolutely crazy for that activity. Let's do this. Now it looks like a fire there. It looks like this must be the San Pedro in here. That fire is just kind of filling the valley areas with smoke out there. This is vertically integrated, but let's look at the surface smoke. A little bit better. It's not pushing too far west, but it is getting some of the foothill areas, it looks like. Yeah, the Nixon fire I saw was really kicking off quite well. Also, let's do the... Yeah, there you can see that bad boy out here, right here. Flared up pretty well as we went through the afternoon. Smoke drifting around. Looks like the winds weren't too strong out there right now. Complex of storms out there across Arizona earlier. But yeah, as we go right now, you can still see the hot spit a little bit right there. Yeah, it depends on what you call crazy weather, because, I mean, there's some pretty good thunderstorm activity across some of the higher terrain in summer. I do enjoy having these weather stations all over the place. You can really zoom in on a lot of areas, and there's a lot of cool information on these weather stations as well. You can just click on basically anybody's station, and you can like see how long the marine layer lasted at any given area. It's pretty fun. You can see what the wind was like. You can see what kind of lightning strikes were in certain areas. So that's always fun. That's the Pacific Northwest page there. This page is doing pretty well also. Click off that. But yeah, I just mainly wanted to come by and just say that, yeah, once things do start getting a little bit more active, I'm going to be doing live streams much more, obviously, as we get into the fall and the winter months. We'll be covering some storms and whatnot. And if I can figure out a way, I want to do some streams where I have both the California and the Pacific Northwest page going at the same time. So just we can all be on the same live stream at the same time, or maybe just have both channels running at the same time. But yeah, so anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this fairly short live stream here, but I just wanted to say hi and just let you guys know that we are going to be doing these live streams as things pick up. So hopefully you guys can join more as things get a bit more active here. But again, one more time here, we do have some monsoon moisture that's going to be rounding back up into the region, and we'll go over that one more time here. So I'm going to go over the upper air moisture. We're going to go 500 millibars, and we're going to scroll back here. And this is the monsoon moisture we're talking about. There's California right there. And as I scroll through here, you can see that's going to be stretching up as we go through Thursday. Here we go through Friday. And, keep it in the back of your mind that some of these storms could have the potential to move off the higher terrain across lower areas, and they could be fire starters as we go through Thursday on and through Friday, and then eventually Saturday here across the region. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind. We may have some lightning started fires here coming up as we go through the weekend. But anyway, yeah, I'm going to sign off now. I'm going to go say hi to the Pacific Northwest page and just kind of remind everybody that I will be doing live streams there, just kind of coming on and saying hi. So, thanks you guys for stopping by. I will do my normal briefing tomorrow, and I will talk to you guys then.